welcome back, everyone. The next speaker is Oliver Zolman. For those who don't know him, he has medical degree from King's College London. He is a professional in regenerative medicine, aging, and medical device innovation technology. He is a founder of several initiatives like Longevity School, Longevity Level 1, 2, and 3, and Rejuvenation Olympics. But for most of you, he is known as a doctor behind Bryan Johnson's meteoric rise. So Lawrence will do a fireside chat, and we'll first let Bryan to present his two free slides. Oh, Ollie, sorry, Ollie. And then Lawrence will take the mic, and then we all will be able to ask Ollie questions. So please welcome Oliver Zolman.
Thanks very much. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if it works.
Yes.
Yep.
How's that? Okay. So yeah, I'll do a quick 5-minute overview. Let's move that little thing. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'll do a 5-minute overview of kind of how I summarize longevity medicine, or kind of like aging medicine and chronic disease management as well. So there's the level 1 to 3 protocol. Level 1 is the essential stuff. That if you do all of it, even starting at like quite a middle age kind of age, you can still have a very good health span and even an average lifespan of 94 years, based on quite good epidemiological data. So this is all the essential things, which we'll cover briefly in the next slide. Level 2, these are non-age-related factors. So things like sleep, sexual health, genetics, all those kind of things. And they don't really add much to lifespan, but they do add, of course, a lot to health span, especially in people that suffer from, genetic conditions or autoimmune conditions, those kind of things. And then level 3, this is really where you get the theoretically crazy results in terms of outcomes that you don't normally see in healthcare. So these are the therapies that can actually cure age-related diseases. As typically in medicine, we've been stuck with kind of, some curative surgeries or antibiotics and a few other things where you properly cure a disease. But properly curing an age-related disease, it's kind of the realms of science fiction or kind of medical fantasy over the past like 20 years or so. It's been coming through in clinical trials. And we're starting to get there now, as we're seeing new therapies come through. So these are all the regenerative therapies that can actually, truly reverse fundamental aging and age-related diseases. And what's the goal? Ideally, it's pretty ambitious. I'm running out of time. I've only got 5 years left, but yeah, it would be make 80 the new 60 by 2030 in all 81 organ types. So that's like even your spleen. If my team can prove that we can take the spleens or thymus or bone marrow or hands of an 80-year-old and turn that into a 60-year-old equivalent by 2030, that would be a remarkable achievement in health span. So I'll do a quick 1-minute summary on each of these. So we've got level 1. You see there's 8 key things here, and these are all the really evidence-based, epidemiological things that kind of are, there's no question about them that they're going to be good for most people. Obviously, some people, it's better if they smoke. When, there's certain weird medical conditions where actually if you smoke, it's better and improves quality of life. But, we're talking about population level here. So these are the benefits compared to being the worst 20% of USA, based on various epidemiological data. And if you do all of these, you stack up to 30 years longevity, most of which is health span as well. So you're not kind of prolonging bad quality of life. You're just increasing health span, which is cool. So yeah, you do not, like, you're in the worst 20% for all of these. Average lifespan is going to be around 64, and you do the best 20% for all of these, and it's going to be around 94. And that's also, interestingly, in men as well, as typically women have the the huge superior advantage above age 90 in terms of health. Level 2, a lot of categories here, so don't have much time to go over it in any detail, but some key things to think about are building your healthcare team. So like that's like avoiding medical error as well, because like a lot of harm can happen from medical error. Like a prescription's done, you get a side effect, and then it just causes a chain of unfortunate events, should we say, and then that really is like the domino effect that starts ruining someone's health. Genomics, is a massive topic as well. Environmental exposures, air, light, water, animals, occupation, all these things. So it's many, many, many different things that can affect health. And my concept with these is writing new clinical guidelines for each of these, for each of these aspects, which outperform the standard clinical guidelines that, for example, NHS might use with NICE in the UK. I don't know what the German equivalent is. And then level 3, quick summary here. So yeah, basically this is where we're measuring fundamental aging, and measuring the biological age of each organ in the body across all 81 organ types. And then we're trying different, typically combination, experimental rejuvenation protocols to see if that reduces the biological age. So we're measuring both traditional clinical markers, like say it would be LDL and LPA in arterial age, and many other things as well. But also novel markers where I'm measuring the direct biological age of the arterial system across the body in individuals. So what's the age in the left carotid, the common carotid, the internal carotid, the right side? What's the age of the abdominal aorta? And then what's the age of each of the arteries in the heart? And you can measure that via CT scanning and ultrasound. So as you can see here, this is the classification system for all the organs. And when you go to a longevity clinic, you don't really think about maybe more than half of these, I'd say. And when you try to measure biological age, no one really does hardly anyone measures an age of an organ at all in anyone's body, because it's very hard to do. So there's a little bit of like brain age measurement in some places, but it's not very good because they're just using volume on MRI. Whereas there's a lot better ways to do it on top of that. But never mind all the other organs that you can see here. And also when people say brain age, this is how basic the biological age measurement space it still is, even after like 4 or 5 years of me doing this. I haven't really seen any changes. Like in brain age, people are still referring to the kind of like the cerebrum, and they completely forget about like pituitary, cerebellum, brainstem, and other like many parts of the intermidbrain as well. So it's just a kind of strange place, the biological age measurement kind of field right now, because people still aren't measuring stuff accurately, and they're just relying on epigenetic clocks, which are kind of silver standard, as I always say. So yep, and as you can see, everyone's organs all age at different rates based on an infinite number of factors. So it's very useful to measure things individually at the organ level in individuals. Okay, that's a quick summary.
All right, thank you, Oli. That's great. I would love to hear more about how you got into this field. Most doctors don't think about this approach to medicine.
Yeah, so it's a good way of putting it. Like, so obviously, like most of medicine is already to do with treating aging, treating age-related diseases. So, most medical specialties, they're going to be dealing majorly with people over age 40, age 50. Especially inpatients in hospital, it's mostly older people, due to age-related diseases. So it's kind of like how you think about it, and like in my place, I'm thinking about it in a systematic kind of research kind of way. Whereas yeah, it's quite siloed in traditional healthcare, which is part of the problem, I'd say, because like you know, medicine's so complicated, and if you really want to see good improvements, you're going to need a team of specialists. Once you get patients that have complex age-related conditions, because there's many different causes. They're going to need a team of specialists to really achieve the best results rather than just one person. So it's very tricky. Um, but yeah, in terms of how I got into it, I think it was my personal experience of bad health in first year medical school. So I've actually had a flare up of this condition right now as well. It's like I was basically partially paralyzed for the first year of medical school, in a wheelchair at some point because I had like such bad back issues that I couldn't walk more than a few meters without like severe pain. None of the pain meds would work. GP wasn't helping, like doctors weren't helping, and it kind of like made me question how effective the healthcare system is, and I had to like find my own path through. The healthcare system with like zero money at the time because I was like first year medical student. So it was like a very like tough experience, I guess. And that like made me start questioning about, okay, why are the guidelines so bad and why don't they work? Like even if they are good, like how are they not implemented across the population evenly? And even if they are implemented, why do they still not achieve good outcomes when they should? So yeah, that was kind of my initial experience that got me into questioning the healthcare system and trying to do my best to improve it.
How can we get more doctors to see this approach of targeting aging and preventative approach?
Yeah, well, there's not doctors are quite busy. Um, I mean, there's a lot of doctors, but there's also not a lot of doctors. I think like, US, there's a million doctors or so. But it's still kind of not really enough doctors, especially when you start getting into the preventive space. Because once you're in prevention mode, that applies to everyone in the population. So it's partly a scale up problem. Um, yeah, it's a very complex question. I think it's going to be a combination of medical education, which I'm trying to help with longevity school for clinicians. Um, but also like I ideally, AI might be a solution. Once if people can accept like having a kind of a GPT voice that is very, is like FDA approved or equivalent in each country for treating certain conditions, I think that's a very good scalable solution. Because currently healthcare access is so bad. Like people just suffer with conditions for decades, and they just accept it, and they can't access the therapies that actually help them, even though they exist for whatever reason.
Now, when we're getting to the cutting edge of really improving healthy lifespan, it's not just about how most doctors are thinking about it. We also need a lot more innovation in terms of pharmaceuticals, gene therapies, super advanced therapies, right? How are you thinking about pushing the cutting edge? You're especially given your involvement with Bryan Johnson. How are you looking at these N=1 studies? Like, how can you really truly know what is improving the chances of delaying morbidity and mortality?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there are no therapies right now that would. Well, I mean, well, okay. I was saying that last year, but I think maybe right like this year, like second half of this year and next year, there may be therapies that will actually have very remarkable results if administered in the right way, in the right person at the right time, for certain age-related conditions that were kind of untreatable before. Um, so yeah, one group I'm working with currently is called Triple Helix. And this is it's a the name is spelled a little funny because like that's just like the domain name situation. So it's TRIPL helix.com. And that is a company that is working on combination viral gene therapies administered simultaneously, up to potentially 9 or 10 at the same time. So I'm helping them on the biomarkers side to assess, does it reverse certain, does it reverse Alzheimer's patients' brain volume loss in certain regions and white matter hyperintensities and ventricular volumes and calcifications and cognitive function, those kind of things. But this is very exciting because like it's when you do these like personalized targeted combination gene therapies that you may be able to see remarkable results. So one of the doctors on this team, Patrick Sewell, he has the world record in telomere age reversal, to my knowledge. So I should make a new leaderboard actually, for telomere reversal leaderboard. So he injected Liz Parrish, I think 7 or 8 years ago now, with AAV9 HTERT, so the telomerase gene therapy. I think multiple injection sites. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was intravenous and also intramuscular, and maybe intranasal as well. And we've been tracking, well, Patrick's been tracking her telomeres and published this paper, I think 2 years ago. So the mean white blood cell telomere length was age 66 equivalent at baseline around 7-8 years ago, and now it's age 25. That was a couple of years ago. So that shows around a 7-year reduction in telomere age in terms of white blood cells, because remember, you have telomere age has to be based on a specific organ type or tissue type, because many organs, their telomeres don't really change with age, so it's not a good marker of aging in that organ. Or even in some organs, I think sperm cells, and maybe certain testicular tissues, their telomeres actually may get longer with age. So it's like you have to be very specific in what you're claiming. But yeah, in terms of like PBMC, I think white blood cell telomere age, then yeah, there seems to be a remarkable reduction there, which is very exciting. So it's applying that but taking it to the next level in patients where there's no other option as well, and then doing this in a way that is a case report or case series publication quality standard and ethically approved as well. So yeah, I think it's getting a quite exciting time. These combination gene therapies are being done for the first time. So I'm trying to get involved and help with that there as well. But yeah, it's like a huge topic of discussion. That's like one example, triple helix. Another example is, well, it'll be interesting with Trump getting in recently, because there's the right to try law in, I think, Montana. And if that scales to the rest of America, might be more likely to happen with Trump, to be honest. Just a gut feeling. Then actually, I need to check whether Montana was Republican before. That'd be interesting to know. But yeah, if that right to try law scales to the rest of US, that could really impact speeding up clinical trials and FDA development.
Yeah, it allows anyone to take, well, with a doctor's prescription, anything that passed phase 1, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's something. Now, when we talk here about creating a new city and a special jurisdiction where we can have warp speed, medical innovation, we're talking even, it still takes a long time and a lot of money to get past phase 1. And it doesn't always make the most sense in the way things are structured. But of course, passing phase 1 with something like COVID was much faster, much cheaper, right? So when we have warp speed, a paradigm like that, then ideally we can find out things work much faster, and we have this paradigm where we don't need to wait for efficacy. We can just start giving it to people that need it, right? And then even though you as a doctor might work with someone like Bryan Johnson or others, where it's one person doing some self-experimentation, maybe they can see some results in their molecular markers like biological age in various organs, that still isn't truly getting that whole statistically significant, like where you have where you can truly say like, okay, this is a trial, this medicine works for this problem or something, right? But could we get more people's data kind of aggregated and get that statistical significant signal in a sort of decentralized trials, people working with you, for example, right? Instead of going through a traditional approval process for a drug.
Yeah, it's so I was talking at Oxford University Biohacking Society with Professor Anders Sandberg about this particular topic a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it's a very hard issue to solve because there's just so many variables, and like so the n required, like the number of people required is like it's almost more inconvenient than a trial, like just running a randomized controlled trial. So that's one issue. It's like how do you
Why?
simplify?
Right. So like if you're looking at, I don't know, let's say a functional test like Ferrell Index or HR Max, and you're doing some gene therapy, like the follistatin gene therapy, the telomerase, the
Oh yeah,
VEGF. We have someone here doing Unlimited Bio in the back, a company that actually started during Vitalia, and in a few months they got approval for giving VEGF gene therapy to humans, things like
nice.
that. If you could gather a bunch of people that are willing to self-experiment, either in a
Yeah,
specific addiction
yeah.
or
When it's like one or two or three, four interventions, then it's like yeah, then it's viable. So I think that's where that's kind of how you solve the problem. Like you try and not do 50 supplements, 10 pharmaceuticals, 30 medical devices, this entire lifestyle change, as well as the VEGF gene therapy at the same time. Because then it's just like it's a mess. It's such a mess. So I think it's finding that sweet spot between reducing the number of variables but having a little bit of flexibility, so there's enough to draw like causality. And that may be easier in like gene therapies that are very targeted. Like if there's a testosterone gene therapy and testosterone goes up, then like higher than it ever has been before, that's easy to infer causality. VEGF, you can measure VEGF blood levels, I think quite easily as well. Follistatin, you can measure follistatin levels. HTERT, you can measure PBMC telomeres. So yeah, those are easy examples, but when you start getting into like complex medical conditions and then trying to infer causality and you're doing like 30 plus interventions at the same time, then it's a nightmare because you don't know what's causing what or what's like inhibiting something else from working, and then it works in someone else when you don't do the inhibiting thing in that person as well. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan. Like I'd love to get involved with some sort of project with this, and this is what Anders and I were discussing on the panel as well. He seemed quite interested also. So it could be a cool project to kind of collate this decentralized data. Because I know Minicircle has, they've sent me data on like how much the intrinsic epigenetic age goes down on follistatin clients, um, and telomeres and so on. But it's kind of like there's no like central global resource for pooling this kind of data, and cleaning it and advising people on how to do it. And that's kind of why like I did the leaderboards. Like I started with leaderboards on my website like many years ago because I got pissed off at people trying to claim causality of something that they were doing, all these biohackers that I'm not going to name, and then saying like, oh, I did this and now I feel amazing when they weren't publishing any data at all, or if they were doing it like mathematically completely incorrectly. So yeah, the leaderboards are like one way of trying to incentivize solutions to that. And like that's been a little bit helpful with the Rejuvenation Olympics, where we had to use I had to choose like the true diagnostic test because it was quite an easy, scalable thing to do. So we may have some insights now. I should speak to the team actually, on correlations between people's protocols and their pace of aging score, which like having a very low pace of aging score, top 10, 20, 30 in the leaderboard. So that's one kind of example that's been done, but it's really not enough. And there's like, yeah, it's kind of like there's always that commercial conflict of interest as well. when it's set up around a single test, which is affiliate linked in some way to various parties. So yeah, what would be nice would be something that's like non-affiliate, decentralized in some way, and integrates a lot of different data types and helps clean up the data. Peptide is another big space with that. Like the ratio of like publications to like use or doses of peptides prescribed is like the lowest of any kind of therapeutic class. I'm not talking like, Ozempic kind of stuff, but like the non-prescription peptides kind of stuff. There's so many doctors prescribing that, and whole like doctors that specialize and do their business in that. But the data isn't really systematically collected. Um, and that could be the same way the gene therapy is going as well. So yeah, those are two like good cases. I think um like peptides and gene therapy, they're two big missing places on collating data and trying to infer safety and efficacy outcomes from it.
Two quick questions, and then I'll let people, maybe if you guys line up here, so we know who's going to go next and it goes faster. If you want to ask Ollie questions directly. I know a lot of people here are wondering about the Pareto version of Blueprint. Like, how do you get 80% of the results with 20% of the effort, or something like that? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, well, there's n equals 1 Pareto, and then there's like kind of like standard Pareto, like mean average Pareto. So I mean, the n equals 1 would require like a medical consult with each person, because like maybe it's like there'll be like some specific random thing which will completely transform your health, and you wouldn't know unless you follow a certain medical protocol to identify that. But yeah, other than that, it's level 1 stuff, the stuff that stacks 30 years. So, and at the top of the list there, I mean, smoking isn't very relevant. It's less relevant these days. So I kind of like don't talk about that one much. But so the number one thing, or number one and two things after smoking are, on an average level for Pareto kind of stuff, is mental health and exercise. And they're both tied together as well. So yeah, that's like a quick answer. Mental health and exercise. But really it's like most people's mental health is fine at one point, and most people do like a little bit of exercise. At least in Berlin, I think it's quite a exercise heavy city compared to mid America or so. But like yeah, I think you don't really want to think about Pareto in terms of populations. You really want to have like a good consult with a clinician that's just good in this area, and for them to help you find what is your personal Pareto.
Cool. By the way, did you expect this whole thing with Bryan Johnson to become such a big thing? Did you learn
No,
anything from all of
no,
that?
no, it wasn't planned. It just kind of happened. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, Brian's a very good marketer, but like even he wasn't expecting this. Like I, yeah, I think it just all went a bit crazy with the Ashley Vance article in Bloomberg last year. And then yeah, it's kind of weird because it feels like I haven't really done anything, but I've got all this media attention. Um Whereas like there's like all these researchers doing, or clinicians who are they're doing like a lot more important stuff in some ways. But it's not like, compared to the publicity they get, it's like a lot smaller. So it's kind of like it's just a weird experience, really.
Cool. Anything you've learned that might actually, I do think we need a lot more attention, and not necessarily the controversial type of attention, but just
Yeah.
anything you've learned in which how people can bring a lot more attention to this approach to longevity, maybe even the Pareto version, where like people
Mm.
are improving their healthy lifespan a lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different in each kind of country and culture. It's a it's a tricky one to say, but yeah, I'd have to think about it more. That's too hard a question.
All right, all
Sorry.
right. All right, let's go to audience questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your insights. As I understand it, you do a lot of analytical testing for ingredients, so foodstuffs, supplements. What would you say were the biggest surprises, perhaps in terms of residuals for food or supplements that we really should take care of?
Yeah, so again, it's a little different in you know, USA versus Europe and UK and then like, you know, beyond that as well. I think just looking at kind of uh like UK and Europe are probably a little more reliable than USA in terms of I think because it might be because like the regulation is just a little better. So there's like certain ingredients where you're just not allowed them, so you don't even have to worry about checking for them. Whereas US, you know, you're gonna find some random natural flavors or like food coloring thing, or like some crazy high levels of like artificial sweeteners, in like random supplements all the time, or foods or you know pesticides and all that as well. So I think it's just like a little bit easier in general. You don't have to worry about it as much in UK and Europe. But yeah, USA it's a bit of a nightmare. So that's kind of like in terms of the safety side. And in terms of like the efficacy side, which is like does a product really actually have how much of what it says it has on the label inside it? Yeah, there's probably quite a lot of fraud out there. But the way to do that is I ask for is to check for like third party analysis. So it's not whether it has GMP, you know, good manufacturing practice, which is like important as well. But it's kind of a separate thing. It's whether it has, you know, independently third party verified testing and a certificate of analysis, the COA. So yeah, as long as they don't fake that, which they do probably, then you're fine. So yeah, I think like stick to UK and Europe, and ask for a third party COA is a good rule of thumb.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next question.
Hi, Oliver.
Hi.
Amazing talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, the most important and most interesting thing for me would be to know, what do you do personally every day for your longevity?
Um, I've got a lot of health issues the past few months, so it's actually changed a lot. So I've got like a type of SIBO, if you've ever heard of that. It's like
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's like it's called EMO or IMO, IMO, intestinal methanogen overgrowth. So that's kind of like limiting my activities right now, so to
Where
say.
did you get that from?
I don't know. I think you just randomly get it from food poisoning sometimes. So you get food poisoning and then you can have it for like you have it until you take um antibiotics or like non-antibiotic antimicrobials to get rid of it. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of things for SIBO right now, the IMO version of SIBO. And
Can you just
also
elaborate 1 minute what SIBO is?
yeah, so it's actually been a useful experience because like it was the gut is was kind of like not taught in med school or any kind of postgraduate stuff. It's not really taught. Um, so unless you're like in that area, and it's still kind of new because like the technology is kind of hard to do and everything, to even test it until recently. It's getting a bit better. But yeah, it stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. There's three different types. One is SIBO, one is IMO, and one is the hydrogen sulfide form. And this is potentially the root cause of IBS. And it can have many life life destroying symptoms. You know, like endless gut symptoms or brain fog, fatigue, joint pains, joint issues, all these different things it can cause. So yeah, I'm kind of tempted almost to start screening for it in patients, when they have like even because often people don't even know they have IBS or gut symptoms, but when you already
You
quiz
have
them
to
about it,
explain what IBS means.
oh, IBS. So IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. And that is, yeah, there's different types and different classifications for it, but basically, if you have gut symptoms, you might have IBS or SIBO or SIFO or IMO, and people aren't getting tested for it, and they just get stuck having these gut symptoms for many years, because doctors aren't taught how to test for it. So it's something I've been learning a lot on the past few months.
And do you think that it comes from fermented food? Do you eat a lot of fermented food, for example?
No, that can probably help prevent it, I'm guessing. But
Right. You
it
missed
shouldn't
that.
cause it.
You missed that point, probably.
Oh,
Fermented
no, sorry.
foods.
Okay.
And what else would you do yourself to stay healthy and fit and young?
Yeah, very personalized diet and supplement protocol. So I find like um it's super personalized. Like, and you've really got to you gotta like you got to build it up. Ideally, you'd build it up like one by one. Like you're starting one new change, whether that's a supplement or something else, and then you're seeing how you respond to that. Ideally, in like an objective way. So for example, like if you have high cortisol in the morning, then ashwagandha could be really good because it's going to bring down that cortisol, and then you can measure that cortisol objectively as well. So having these objective markers, or at least some kind of marker rather than just like this kind of sense of feeling to test whether something's working, is is a good way of going about it.
And how do you personalize your diet? Do you check your IgE or how do you do it?
Yeah, I'm negative for everything well, I don't have any allergies, so yeah,
Really?
yeah, zero. I'm completely non-allergic to everything, which is good. But yeah, in terms of personalizing my diet, it's more for like cyber related stuff at the moment. And also FODMAP control. And then there's like various blood markers as well. Like, so I did a mass spectrometry test and it showed my glutamine levels were like 0, and they were 0.9 or something, and they should be over 400. So it's like 400 times below the reference range. So I might have like a genetic condition, which means my glutamine levels are like, I just don't absorb it, or there's some like something going on there. So I'm looking into that currently. And then I started taking a lot more glutamine because of that, and I'm gonna keep retesting the levels, adding that into my routine testing. And that's related to SIBO also as well, interestingly.
So your glutathione levels were
Oh, it's
really
glutamine. My glutathione's good.
okay.
Is my glutamine, which is an amino acid and very important for preventing stuff getting through the gut lining into the blood.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are over time, but a quick last question.
Yeah, hi, Oliver. I'm Vladimir from Unlimited Bio. So
Hey.
I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the X Prize challenge, and does maybe Blueprint and pose a chance of actually doing 20H reversal already, or maybe it needs to be complemented somehow? What are the perspectives there?
Yeah. I'm not sure if Blueprint are entering. So it's quite yeah. I don't know what they're doing about that. But I know there's like a few teams that, including the Triple Helix team, potentially as well, that might be entering with these combination gene therapies. So yeah, I think it's really good. The X Prize. It's kind of like, it's not as they're trying to focus it on certain organ systems, which is good because like you don't want to do all 81 organs like in my thing, because it's just too hard, and I don't know, I think it'd be too hard to do right now. So focusing it on like the 3 organ systems they're doing, I think it's immune, brain, and muscle, then I think that's really good. But yeah, I think something's gonna work, because when I was speaking to Jamie Justice, Professor Jamie Justice, at Imperial a couple months ago, she already had like over like loads of teams entering. So now I should probably check in with her actually and see what's going on. Because there's just so many teams going on with so many different crazy approaches that I think something just has to work. So I'm bullish. I'm bullish on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ollie. Pleasure seeing you, and hope to see
Thanks
you
for having me.
in person. Hope you make it in person next time.
Yep, next time. I hope so. Okay.
See you. Ciao.
See you soon.